Hi guys, welcome to this series. Somebody asked a very important question and I felt I should shoot a video on it. And the question is, how much capital do I need to start an export business? I'm sure that is a question that a lot of you have always wondered. Can you start with $100? Can you start with 50? 2,000? Is it 10,000 you need? It depends on you. It depends on where you are, but especially the most important factor in how much you need to start an export business is who are you selling to. That is the most important factor. Now, I'll tell you why that is the most important factor by looking at what I call a multi-channel sales system. Now, I talk about this all the time. If you want to blow up your export, if you want to go from, say, $0 to $100,000 thereabout, you need to be able to sell via a multi-channel system. What are the components of that multi-channel? Because that is what will determine how much you need to start capital. So I'm going to break it down into capital to start export. So I'm going to break it down into three categories. Number one is low capital. I look at low capital as anything between $100 to $200. That is low capital. And I can tell you, you can start an export business with as little as $100. Now, mid capital, and that will be anything, let me say less than $1,500 based on experience. And then high capital, I'm going to typically be saying greater than $5,000, right? So let's break this down. Again, like I said, the amount you need to start an export business is going to depend on the channel you are selling. And that's what I'm going to explain to you in this video. I always talk about this all the time. To blow up your export, one of the issues, one of the mistakes that most people make is trying to sell in only one way. You set up your account on Amazon and you think, oh, I can only sell on Amazon and make it big. Yes, you may be able to hit $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 every month on Amazon. But to really grow, you need to be able to sell to African stores. You need to be able to sell to US retail stores. You need to be able to sell to wholesalers. You need to be able to sell to Africans in diaspora. You must sell via a multi-channel sales system. And the way to have that happen is by having a local warehousing. Again, I talk about this all the time in my videos. The lowest capital is when you are selling direct to consumer. And this includes things like selling to Africans in diaspora. If you have just small capital, this is where you have to start. And why is this easy? Because again, you can get a lot of these customers through social media. It's free marketing. All you have to do is you decide, what product do I want to start exporting with? Do I want to start exporting dried fish? Do I want to start exporting pepper? Do I want to start exporting tiger nut? Whatever it is, do I want to start exporting fashion? Am I a tailor? Do I want to make clothes and then show it out to people and then people contact me? I make it for them and I export it. And this is where you start with the lowest capital, because again, you are selling directly to the consumer. And how does it work? Simple. Create a social media page, an Instagram page, a TikTok page, and start talking about the products that you have. The problem with a lot of people when they're trying to start a business is that they think that starting a business is just a piece of cake. Oh, once I open up my TikTok account and I put what I have, in a few days, no. It takes dedication and to a large extent hard work, right? But the key thing is that if you keep at it, all those that you see on TikTok that have 100,000 followers, they didn't start like that. They started small, but they were dedicated, they kept on it. So if every day you are posting that product, you are going to have buyers who are going to reach out to you and they're going to say, hey, send me that product. With $100 to $200, you can start this, because they are only going to reach out to you and say, hey, send me that pack of dry fish. Right? You go to the market, you buy the dry fish for say $50, and then maybe you use another $40 to ship it. And you started that business with less than 100. And that's what I tell you, the capital you need depends on where you want to start. I have a lot of people who come to me and they say, oh, I want to sell my product from Walmart. And I'm like, how much is your production capacity? And they say, oh, they can only do like 50 items a month. And I say, you what? You want to sell to Walmart that has over 5,000 stores? that one store will probably order a pallet load. You see, we need to be realistic. Now, the next one, mid-capital, you're going to have places like Amazon, e-commerce, the direct to consumers, and Africans in diaspora. You've been able to expand your reach, right? Starting in Amazon, Amazon will not tell you, oh, you must bring in 300 products before you can start. No, you can decide to send just one item to Amazon, right? But why I put it at this level is because Amazon has a lot of other requirements. You don't want to have $100 and just put, you can do it. You can decide as long as you can ship it to them. But again, you want to start with a certain number of items. Right? Because again, you're going to need to do a lot of things, a lot of learning. It requires so much. And then e-commerce is almost like Amazon. So there are various platforms out there. We run a platform called africannaturalstore.com, whereby if we have your products, we're able to put it on an e-commerce platform and people all over are able to buy it. Okay. So mid-capital, less than 1,500, you'll be able to do on Amazon e-commerce. And again, when I say less than 1,500, it could be 100, it could be 200. Right? But that is where you see that. Now, when you talk about high capital, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong. You have people who do not even have up to $1,000 and they say, oh, I want to sell to African store. I want to sell to US retail stores. It doesn't work that way, because by the time those stores start ordering, can you meet the capacity? Right? So in this category, we obviously have the African stores, right? Because these are retail stores. You have the US retail stores. You have the wholesalers. Now, I won't even try to be selling to wholesalers with just $5,000. But for most businesses, most African businesses, this is probably where they are going to be, because a lot of you are just starting. Now, when you are bigger, you have a $50,000, $100,000, then you now start talking about wholesaling and all that. Now, $5,000, because you're going to have some products that they don't need to buy in such a large quantity. $5,000 worth of spices is a lot of spice, right? So that is what you see there. And then obviously you have all this Amazon, you have the e-commerce, you have direct to consumers, and then you have those in the diaspora. Right? So as you have more capital, obviously the number of places that you can sell increases and you make more money. So it's as simple as that. When people come to me and say, oh, how much do I need to start an export business? It depends on where you want to start from. All my teachings are based on experience. They are based on practicality. Now, the question now is, how do I start selling direct to consumer? I already gave you a little tip, but again, it involves a lot of things. If I have just this 100, how do I kickstart it? You need to understand the shipping process. You need to understand how to do your documentation. Make sure that the item you're shipping meets the packaging requirements of where it is going. Have all that in mind. When you now go to Amazon, you need to be sure that you are meeting the requirements to sell on Amazon. You are meeting the requirements that the e-commerce store has. And then when it's African stores, does the product meet the requirements for the FDA? Because again, these are products that you're going to be putting on the shelves. For it to be on the shelves of these stores, they need to meet certain requirements.